Welcome to the Market Frontlines. I'm Lyndsay Malchuk. There is a growing urgency around securing critical minerals that actually underpin the energy transition, not just power it in theory, but make it possible in practice. First Phosphate is positioning itself right at the center of that conversation, advancing high-purity phosphate projects in Quebec with a focus on the LFP battery supply chain. So what stands out here is not just the geology, but the strategy. We have vertical integration, we have North American alignment, and now a series of developments that suggest this story is accelerating at exactly the right time. Joining me is John Passalacqua, CEO and Director of First Phosphate. John is not just building another resource company, though. He's architecting a supply chain solution at a time when, let's be honest, North America is realizing just how critical it is to control its own inputs. John, great to have you here with us.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Lyndsay.
So let's start with execution, because in this market, John, timelines are everything. You've just wrapped up your drilling campaign on time, which sounds simple on the surface. But in reality, John, it's something many companies struggle to deliver on. So walk us through what that actually signals to the market. Is this about operational discipline, or does it go to maybe something deeper? Like, how are you de-risking this project from here, really?
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Lyndsay. Yes, I do believe in operational discipline, and I also believe in not embarking on something unless you're ready for it. So we did a lot of hard work last year in 2025. We raised about $30 million or so, and a big portion of that was earmarked for this drilling campaign. And we even had raised extra. So this drilling campaign, we went into it fully funded. That's really important. Suppliers and everybody had the know that they would be paid, right? Which is not always the case in mining. We actually went on 10,000 meters extra. The campaign was supposed to be 30,000 meters. We went to 40,000 meters because we found some extra zones and we found some additional phosphate at depth. And the idea behind this campaign was really just to be able to do all of our infill drilling and to really be able to establish the resource where then you can then use those higher resources that are now into indicated and measured to be able to unleash after that a feasibility study.
Wow. Now I want to continue building on that then. There's a bigger narrative forming around government alignment, and you recently secured a $16.7 million contribution from the federal government. And at the same time, phosphate has now been added to the clean tech list. So that's not just symbolic here. That changes access to capital and incentives and potentially the pace of development. So, John, how transformative is this moment for First Phosphate? Does it shift how you think about scaling this business from here?
Yeah, look, we've been lobbying for all of this for a long time for Western governments, right, who are stuck in the mindset of nickel, manganese, cobalt batteries, where, LFP is now 2/3 of the batteries on the planet. And phosphate is extremely important because, in these LFP batteries here, 60% of the cathode is phosphate. So it's like we keep saying, where are you going to get the phosphate from? So this is a really big acknowledgement from the Canadian government that they put, phosphate on the list of, battery materials, not just for fertilizers as it used to be, but sort of on the battery materials A list. And then also we received the contribution, non-refundable, non-dilutive of $16.7 million from the Canadian government, meaning they do want to see us get into the production. They do see the big blue sky of, getting this deposit going. So that goes directly to our feasibility study as well. So this is all really, really important developments here, de-risking the company. Finally, the Canadian government, coming in very substantially, and we're very thankful to them. But when the governments come in, a sovereign comes in, they want to see you get into production. So as long as we play our cards right, we do what we have to do, we continue to execute. We know that our government is there to support us, and that's really important for us and for them. Absolutely. And for the country.
Absolutely. We're in really trying times right now, to see the backing where it needs to be is a huge testament to where and what you're building. So great job on that. John, I want to move into something that really caught my attention here, and that's the long-term offtake agreement with the prepayment component. So in this environment, capital, we know it's tight and validation matters more than ever. So when a partner is willing to commit capital up front like that, that says something. But what does this agreement signal about confidence in your product? More so, how should investors interpret the strength of that relationship?
Yeah, look, a really good point, Lyndsay. So, many companies have MOUs that are non-binding, memorandums of understanding that are non-binding from off-takers. This is a fully binding, definitive, bankable offtake agreement. Not only that, but the off-taker wanted to show the seriousness. So they actually made a prepayment of about $550,000 US dollars towards the first shipment of this concentrate, which will not happen for at least 2 to 3 years until we get our feasibility study done and the mine built. But just to show you how important it is, how few suppliers there are of this material in the world, and how they wanted to have, be right first in the door and show that they were serious, showed seriousness to their government in Europe, showed seriousness to our government here in Canada. It's one of the big reasons also that I believe we got that the contribution from the federal government was that they saw that there was serious bankable, prepaid offtake behind it and government involvement from both sides of the pond.
Well, let's talk about your risk then, because right now, I mean, everything is risky, and we see that investors, they're asking very, very hard questions now, and risk management is not just a checklist item anymore. So tell us about your risk management plan. I mean, how are you managing that? Who's managing for it? And if something fails to not hit a target deadline or comes up short with, whatever it may be, who takes that fall? Talk us through your risk management here.
Yeah, look, I love these times. I love these times. It's kind of like the show me times. And, I think we're a show me company. We've been on a very aggressive timeline. And we've always told investors in the market, look, it's a very aggressive what we're doing. We could fail, but we're going to try and do it. And we've shown that discipline for the 3.5 years that we've been at it. We've developed, from scratch, a full model along a phosphate mine. We've developed the downstream. We've been able to make the world's first LFP batteries made out of North American critical minerals. So we've shown all that discipline and we continue to execute. The timelines are really tight. So always warn investors, it's really tight what we're looking to do. We think that the mine and the whole downstream is worth a lot more the quicker that it comes to market. So we're going as quick as possible to bring it all together. Timelines are tight. If they're not reached, we've let the market know that they're tight. If they're not reached, obviously, it reflects poorly on the team, on myself and everybody else. But I think investors understand that we're trying to do, what no other company does. And we're trying to condense, 10 years of development into like 3 or 4. So we remain on very tight timelines. We've been executing, I knock on wood. And so far so good. We're 100%, execution oriented here. We don't do anything unless we have the capital in the bank. We don't embark on things unless we study them 3 or 4 times. And when we embark, we measure twice, we cut once, and we execute.
And are you insured if those things fall short?
Insured? Well, I mean, you make representations to the market, yes, but there's always caveats that you say, that things could happen. Sometimes there's things that can happen, outside of your realm of control, right? As the world is quite fragile and quite hard to decipher sometimes nowadays. But in terms of what's in our control, we always continue to execute. And whenever there's a even a slight chance that something has gone off the rails or something, we do communicate to our shareholders. We do let them know, and that's what I think it takes. I think it takes an honest dialogue between shareholders and management. And as I've been on the other side of the street. I've been invested in a lot of companies. I run my own family office, so I know what it means to be on the other side and to be in the dark after you've invested. And I don't want to see that happen to anybody, especially not to myself, because I'm one of the lead investors in First Phosphate. And so, we work on a family concept. Everybody in this company is, part of our shareholder family. We work on transparency. Sure, it's not perfect, but we've got a pretty good rating now, like very, very in the high 90s. So I'm very proud of that. We really take in our staff. We really take what we do, in the region of Quebec and what we're doing for, society, what we're doing for our shareholders very seriously.
Right. And that's really what it's all about right now. I mean, a great story is not going to move a needle for sure. So investors are really looking more for clarity right now, more than anything. So thank you for answering that. And we are running out of time, so I'd like to actually connect all of this back together. Now, you've got execution on the ground, you've got government backing, and now strategic capital coming in through Offtake. When you step back, John, and you look at the bigger picture, what do you believe the market is still missing about First Phosphate right now? Is there a disconnect between what you're building and how it's currently being valued?
Look, I mean, obviously, every CEO is going to tell you that their company could be valued highly. We're valued, what the market wants to value us at, and we just have to accept that. Right now, we are valued at about 7 to 8% of the net present value of our PEA. we're almost ready to launch a feasibility study here shortly. The board will have to make that decision as soon as we see the drill results. We've got the backing of the federal government now. I mean, the de-risking that's happened in the last few months is very substantial. So there's a lot of room to sort of, close that gap. There's like a 92% to go until we get to our NPV. So, we're trading somewhere lower for maybe a mineral that's not that much well understood. Usually you'll see these stories in our bracket trading between 20 to 40% of their NPV. We traded about 8, and that's only on the mine. There's still the whole phosphoric acid plant downstream. There's the whole LFP CAM plant. And there's the fact that we've been able to get to the LFP battery with all scalable technology. Like, we hold a secret here towards, bringing the LFP battery supply chain back to North America. Like, it's sitting here in my hands right here. We've been able to do this. So I think there's tremendous, interest, tremendous value behind First Phosphate for those who do their homework. And I always say to people, just do your homework. Like, don't take my word for it. Spend some time on our website, www.firstphosphate.com. Look at us in the news. Go through our YouTube channel. Spend the time and understand the industry, understand what you're investing in. But one thing you'll find out pretty quickly is, it's right now everyone's focused on lithium because of battery energy storage for, AI data centers, robotics, solar, wind facilities, and they're all going after lithium because they say it's all about LFP. But guess what? In LFP, lithium is only 4% of the cathode. Iron is 35%, and phosphate is a whole 61%. Our biggest bottleneck out there is going to be the phosphate. There's 150 lithium stories out there, 150 CEOs telling the story about lithium across the world, and 150 different companies that exist out on other stock exchanges. I'm basically the only one talking about phosphate. So I mean, this is quite a gem of a story. By definition, we are one of the only ones in the market, the leader in the market. And we're there 100% for phosphate for electrification. We're not there for phosphate for fertilizer. There's a few companies trading on exchanges that are phosphate for fertilizer. We are phosphate for electrification, and we're building the category here. And very proud of everything we've built on our team, especially the first cells made in North America of North American critical minerals, including the phosphate from our property.
And that's the key thing that you said earlier, too. I mean, phosphate is not just fertilizer. This is for batteries. And there's so much more education that is still needed around, what investors or what the industry is seeing as the important valued material in what makes a battery. And you made some very great points. So thank you so much for sitting with us and really pulling that back. And I think that there's a bigger opportunity for us to come back together and really dive deeper into that. So do come back soon.
Yeah, thanks, Lyndsay. And just remember, remember, where are you going to get the P in LFP? It's right here, sitting at First Phosphate. High purity igneous phosphate.
There we go. Again, that was John Passalacqua, CEO and Director of First Phosphate, trading on the CSE under PHOS and on the OTCQB under FRSPF. This is a company moving beyond the narrative that you're hearing and into measurable momentum, where timelines are being met, capital is being secured, and partnerships are putting real money behind long-term demand. And if the market is still treating this like an early-stage story or a not important story, it may not be paying close enough attention. I encourage you to head over to firstphosphate.com to really sink your teeth further into their story. I'm Lyndsay Malchuk, and this is the Market Frontline. Stay tuned. There's more to come.